When I woke up at 1 a.m. with a dry throat, I found my daughter Charlotte asleep at the dining table, her phone glowing in the darkness. I reached to turn it off. That's when I saw the message on her screen. I froze. The sender's name made my blood run cold. The message itself was worse. Fragments about numbers, about years, about something that needed to stay buried. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, because after investigating what I'd seen, a secret buried for 45 years was about to be exposed, and it would destroy everything. Drop a comment if you've ever discovered a family secret that made you question your entire life. Because that 1 a.m. moment, just the beginning. What I uncovered in the next few hours made that text message look like nothing. Here's what happened. 1 in the morning, and my throat felt like sandpaper. I lay there in the darkness, trying to ignore the thirst. At 67, you learn to pick your battles with your body. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you just get up and get the damn water. The farmhouse was quiet as I made my way downstairs, one hand on the railing. 4 decades in this place, and I knew every creaking floorboard by heart. I was halfway to the kitchen sink when I saw her. Charlotte slumped at the dining table, her head resting on crossed arms. Her phone lay beside her screen, glowing with that harsh blue light. My first thought was pure father. She'd fallen asleep, pushing herself too hard. I moved toward her quietly, intending to wake her gently. That's when I saw the message. The text thread was still open. Contact name Jason Crawford. Did you move it yet? She'll never know. 45 years. 60-40 like we agreed. I froze, one hand suspended in air. Let me tell you who I am, so you understand what that message meant. My name is Curtis Palmer, 67 years old widower for 8 years owner of Palmer Ridge Farm in Paso Robles, California. 200 acres of almond and olive trees that have been in my family for 3 generations. Charlotte's my daughter, 41. She'd been staying with me for 3 weeks after what she called a temporary business setback. I didn't pry. When she needs a place to land, she's got one. That's how it works. But that message changed things. Jason Crawford was her ex-husband. They'd divorced 6 months back, ugly and expensive. Charlotte swore she never wanted to see him again. Yet here was his message. Fresh, 20 minutes old. I read it again, my heart hammering. 45 years. 45 years ago, I was 22. Caroline was 21. We hadn't even met yet. That would come a year later. What had been hidden that long? And what were my daughter and her ex-husband planning to split 60-40? Charlotte shifted in her sleep, murmuring something. Her hand moved toward her phone, and I stepped back fast. Every instinct said, wake her. Demand answers. But 43 years of marriage had taught me something. When you suspect someone's lying, don't confront them until you know the truth yourself. Otherwise, they just get better at hiding it. My eyes moved to the hallway, to the door at the end. Caroline's study. I'd kept that room exactly as she'd left it 8 years ago. Every paper in its place, her reading glasses beside the lamp, her coffee mug on the desk corner. I dusted monthly, but never disturbed anything. Some kind of shrine to a marriage I'd thought was solid. If something had been hidden for 45 years the year before we married, Caroline would have kept the proof close. She'd been meticulous about everything. Every receipt filed, every document labeled. I'd loved that about her, her precision. Now I wondered what else she'd kept precise, what else she'd been careful about hiding. Charlotte's breathing deepened, still asleep. I moved quietly out of the kitchen and down the hallway. The door to Caroline's study was closed, like always. The brass handle was cool under my palm. For 8 years I'd walked past this door and never thought to question what my wife might have left behind. But if my daughter was planning something with her ex-husband about a 45-year-old secret, then maybe it was time I stopped treating this room like a shrine. I turned the handle and stepped inside. Caroline's study still smelled like her perfume. 8 years, and I'd kept everything exactly as she'd left it. Tonight, that ended. I started with the desk. Pens, paper clips, an address book with familiar names. Bills and receipts filed by date. Caroline had always been organized, nothing unusual. The filing cabinet came next. Property taxes, insurance policies, mortgage documents, marked paid in full. Medical records, all normal, all exactly what should be there. An hour passed, then another. I searched methodically every folder, every envelope. The bookshelf held agriculture manuals, romance novels, Italian cookbooks. I pulled random books, checking for hollowed pages. Nothing. By 3 in the morning, frustration was setting in. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe that text message meant something else. Maybe my daughter wasn't planning anything and I was just a paranoid old man. Through the window, the sky was still black, but that particular darkness before dawn had started creeping in. Another hour and Charlotte would wake up. I was about to give up when I noticed it. The bookshelf on the east wall didn't sit flush against the baseboard, a small gap barely visible. I removed books from the lower shelves, stacking them on the floor. Once empty, I could see clearly the bookshelf wasn't built in. It was freestanding. I gripped the edge and pulled. The whole thing rolled easily on hidden casters. Behind it was a door, 2 feet square built into the wall. No lock, just a simple latch. My heart hammered as I lifted it and pulled. Inside was a metal box, old and dusty. I set it on Caroline's desk, hands shaking, and opened it. The first document was a property deed. Villa in Florence, Italy. Caroline's name dated 1981. I'd never known she owned property in Italy. Never once in 43 years. Beneath it a birth certificate, yellowed paper Italian words, but some things were universal. Name Isabella Romano. Born 1979. Mother Caroline Collins. Collins. Caroline's name before she married me. Before she became Caroline Palmer. My wife had a daughter before we even met. The next items were letters. Dozens old and preserved. Masculine handwriting English with odd phrasings. I opened one. Caroline, our daughter, asks about you constantly. She wants to know why her mother never visits. I don't know what to tell her anymore. Signed Matteo. I photographed everything with my phone. Every document, every letter. My hands were steadier with the phone than they'd been with the papers. Some part of me had gone numb. When finished, I returned everything to the box exactly as I'd found it. Placed it back. Rolled the bookshelf into position. Restacked the books in order. The sky through the window was gray now. Dawn coming. Then I heard it. Footsteps upstairs. Charlotte's bedroom door creaking open. She was awake. I had 30 seconds to get out of this study to become the confused, harmless father she expected. But inside, everything had changed. I made coffee like every morning, eggs and toast. Played the routine perfectly. Charlotte never suspected I'd been awake all night. She came downstairs at 6:30, refreshed and innocent. "Morning, Dad. How'd you sleep?" "Fine, sweetheart. You like a rock." She poured coffee, adding cream. I don't even remember falling asleep. The lie came so easily. I watched this daughter I'd raised and wondered how long she'd been this good at deception. "Actually, Malcolm's driving up today," she said it casually. "Thought we could have lunch together, family time." Malcolm, my son, 38 years old, lived in Boston, worked in finance, visited maybe twice a year if I was lucky. Now suddenly driving 12 hours to California. "That'll be nice," I said evenly. Her phone sat face down on the table, always hiding something. At 9, Charlotte left for errands. The moment her car disappeared, I opened the photos on my phone. Matteo Romano's letters were the hardest to read. Year after year, begging Caroline to tell their daughter the truth. Isabella asking about her mother. Matteo trying to explain why Caroline never visited, never called, never acknowledged the child she'd left behind in Florence. The timeline was clear. Isabella born 1979 in Italy. Caroline returned alone. 2 years later, she met me. We married 6 months after that. She'd chosen me, or chosen my family's money, the farm, the security. Comfort over honesty. I looked at our wedding photo on the wall, young and happy. Now I couldn't stop wondering, did you ever love me, Caroline? Or was I just convenient? A car engine, 10:30. Malcolm's BMW rolled up, Boston plates gleaming. He'd driven all that way. That's how important this was. Charlotte returned with takeout. She'd planned this carefully, family lunch, casual, comfortable. The perfect setting. We sat at the dining table. Malcolm looked tired but alert. Charlotte pulled folders from her bag. Glossy brochures for Heritage Valley Assisted Living. Legal documents with irrevocable trust and conservatorship in bold. "Dad, we've been talking," Charlotte started, voice warm and concerned. "We think it's time to consider some changes. For your own good." I set down my fork slowly. "What kind of changes?" "You're doing great," Malcolm said. "But 67 running 200 acres alone, that's a lot. I have Walter, seasonal help." "We know," Charlotte said. "But there are legal issues. Financial planning, it's complicated stuff." I played my part, furrowed my brow. "What's a trust again?" Charlotte's smile was patient, condescending. "Just paperwork, Dad. Legal protection. If anything happens, if you can't manage, Malcolm and I step in. Take care of everything." "Take care of what?" Your assets, Malcolm said. The farm, the property. We'd be trustees. You'd be beneficiary, but we'd handle management. Decisions. What decisions? Dad. Charlotte's voice had an edge. This is for your protection. There's a legal claim against the estate. Someone trying to take what's yours. If we don't act fast... What claim? I looked directly at her. Who's trying to take something? Charlotte shot Malcolm a look. He'd said too much. It's complicated, she said quickly. Nothing to worry about. We'll handle it. But we need you to sign these papers. Today. The lawyer says it's urgent. She pushed documents across the table. Trust papers, power of attorney, conservatorship agreements. Yellow arrows pointing to signature lines. I picked up the pen. Charlotte smiled. But I wasn't signing anything. Not until I understood what claim against the estate really meant. Not until I knew exactly what my children were trying to take from me, and who was trying to stop them. I told them I needed groceries. Charlotte offered to come with me. I said no. The look on her face told me she knew I was lying. But she let me go. Maybe she thought I couldn't do much damage in a couple of hours. She was wrong. I drove straight to San Luis Obispo to Stephen Mitchell's law office, our family lawyer, for 20 years. If anyone knew about the claim, it would be him. The receptionist blinked. Mr. Palmer, do you have an appointment? No, I need to see Stephen now. 2 minutes later, he appeared uneasy. Curtis, what's going on? I didn't waste time. Tell me about Isabella Romano's lawsuit. The color drained from his face. How did you... Charlotte said you knew. Charlotte said many things. What's the lawsuit? He pulled a thick file. Filed 2 months ago. A claim against Caroline's estate for hidden assets. $6.3 million. The number hit like a fist. What properties? A villa in Florence. 6 properties in California and Arizona. Santa Barbara Lake, Tahoe, Scottsdale, Napa Valley, Portland, San Diego. I'd been married to Caroline 43 years, and she'd been buying property I never knew existed. Charlotte knew I asked. Stephen stiffened. She came last month. Said you asked her to handle the case. She had written permission. Show me. He slid the paper over. My name, my signature. Except it wasn't. The R in Palmer curled wrong. That isn't mine. Stephen went pale. She forged it. Curtis, I should have confirmed. Where are the properties? He gave me copies. A secret portfolio built over 25 years. I left and drove to the county clerk's office, arriving 10 minutes before closing. A clerk named Jessica pulled Caroline's records. That's a lot of properties, she said. Print everything. 6 deeds. Caroline's name. Bought between 1985 and 2010. One notation stood out on the Napa property. What's that? I asked. A lien, Jessica said. Filed 3 weeks ago. The holder is Jason Crawford. My stomach dropped. Charlotte's ex-husband. Unless he wasn't really an ex. Unless the divorce, the move back home, the concern for me had all been planned. I paid and sat in my truck as the sun sank, papers spread across my lap. 6 properties. $6.3 million. My wife's secret life. My children knew. Planned around it. Forged my name to control it. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Palmer, this is Isabella Romano. We need to talk. I stared at the name. Caroline's daughter. A woman I'd never known suing me for millions. Was she the enemy? Or the only one who might tell me the truth? I started typing. The courthouse lights flickered behind me. My hands shook, but my mind sharpened. Lies had shaped my marriage, my children, my past. Whatever came next, silence was over. I would answer her message, face the truth, and stop being managed by people who thought I was finished. At last I was ready. I had replied to Isabella's text before leaving town. Simple and direct. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Coffee shop in a Tascadero. Her answer came back immediately. I'll be there. The drive home took 40 minutes. 40 minutes to plan what I'd say at dinner, how I'd act, what mask I'd wear. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I had my story ready. Dinner was chicken casserole, Charlotte's specialty. I couldn't taste any of it. Every smile she gave me felt like a knife. Malcolm talked about Boston, some deal market trends, things he knew I didn't understand. Charlotte asked about my grocery trip, her tone casual, but her eyes sharp. Got distracted? I said vaguely. Stopped for coffee, lost track of time, old age. They exchanged a glance. Let them think I was losing it. After dinner, Charlotte brought out the trust papers again, spread them across the table like cards. Dad, we really need you to sign these tomorrow. I set down my coffee slowly. Why tomorrow? Legal deadlines, Malcolm said. The claim against the estate. What claim? I looked confused. I keep forgetting. Charlotte's jaw tightened. We explained this. Just trust us. Let me sleep on it. Dad, her voice had an edge. Tomorrow. You have to sign tomorrow. I nodded, let my shoulders slump. I'm tired. It's a lot to think about. Her smile was forced. Get some rest. But tomorrow? Okay, promise? Promise. I lied. I went upstairs at 8:30, made a show of exhaustion. Heard them settle downstairs, voices low but relaxed. At 9, I crept back to the top of the stairs. I pulled out my phone, opened the recording app, and held it toward their voices. If he doesn't sign tomorrow, we go to Plan B. Charlotte's voice clear and cold. You're sure about Dr. Rhodes? Malcolm sounded nervous. He'll say whatever we pay him. Dad's confused, can't manage finances, needs a conservator. And we become the conservators. Exactly. By Friday, we control everything. What about the Romano woman? She's desperate. Her mother's firm is failing. Once we control Dad's assets, we'll deal with her on our terms. My hand shook, but I kept recording. I still think we should have waited. Malcolm started. Waited for him to die, he could live another 20 years. I'm not waiting that long. I ended the recording and slipped back to my bedroom. My daughter. My son. Planning to have me declared incompetent. Planning to steal everything. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. The recording was proof. But proof didn't matter if they got me declared incompetent first. At 11, I texted Isabella again. Confirmed. 9 a.m. tomorrow. Her response, I'll be there. I lay back, phone clutched in my hand. Tomorrow I'd meet my wife's secret daughter. The woman my children had conspired with, then tried to cut out. The woman suing me for millions. The woman who might be the only person who could help me. I had evidence. I had a plan forming. But Charlotte and Malcolm had time and a doctor willing to lie. By Friday, they'd said 3 days. Evidence meant nothing if I couldn't stay free long enough to use it. I left before Charlotte woke up. Drove 20 miles to a town where nobody knew me. The cafe smelled like cinnamon and second chances. I spotted her immediately. Caroline's eyes. Different face, different life, but those eyes, I'd know them anywhere. She stood when I walked in. Mr. Palmer. Curtis, I said. I don't know what to call this relationship yet. She smiled sad and knowing. Neither do I. We sat. The morning light coming through the window caught her profile. 45 years old. My wife's daughter. A woman I'd never known existed until 3 days ago. You asked when I learned about you, Isabella said. After my mother died, she left me a letter. I wrapped my hands around my coffee cup. What did it say? That she had another family. That she'd married a good man. That she was sorry. Isabella's voice didn't waver. She sent money my whole life. Never visited. My grandmother raised me in Florence. My father, Matteo, he didn't want the responsibility. Charlotte contacted you 6 months ago. Yes, she found my petition before I filed it. Offered me a deal. Isabella slid a document across the table. 60% for her, 40 for me. Split everything. I studied the paper. Charlotte's handwriting on the margins. Jason's signature at the bottom. And you agreed initially. Isabella pulled out another document. Then I learned more about you, about what they were planning. So I filed this instead. It was a modified petition. The Florence Villa. 2 of the California properties. Everything else stayed with me. What? Because you're the victim here, Curtis? Not me. She met my eyes. And because I wanted to know about the man my mother chose, if you'll let me. I pulled out my phone, played last night's recording. Isabella listened, her expression darkening. Plan B if he won't sign. Dr. Rhodes will testify. By Friday, we control everything. Conservatorship, Isabella said when it finished. They're planning to have you declared incompetent. Can we stop them? Maybe, but we have to move fast. She pulled out her own papers. I've been documenting everything since Charlotte first approached me. Every text, every call, her exact words about the 60-40 split. My phone buzzed, Charlotte calling. Isabella watched me. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Are you ready for that? I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. She reached across the table, squeezed my hand once. Your wife? My mother. She kept us separated our whole lives. Let's not let them do the same thing. I answered Charlotte's call, put it on speaker so Isabella could hear. Where are you? Charlotte's voice was tight, controlled. Getting supplies. Malcolm needs you back here. The lawyer's coming at 2. What lawyer? A pause. Then the one handling your estate planning. We discussed this yesterday. I don't recall that conversation. Another pause. Longer this time. Dad, are you feeling okay? Maybe we should have Dr. Rhodes come by? Isabella scribbled on a napkin. Don't mention me. Don't let them know. I'm fine, I said. I'll be home soon. I ended the call. Isabella was already gathering her papers. 2:00, she said. That's when they'll try to get you to sign. Once you do everything transfers to Charlotte and Malcolm, you'll have no legal standing. What do I do? She handed me a business card. Catherine Lawson, attorney at law. You fight back, Isabella said, and this time you won't be alone. I left Isabella at the cafe with a promise to stay in touch. 20 minutes later, I was pulling into my own driveway. The black Mercedes told me I was too late. Charlotte had moved to Plan B. I walked in to find 3 people in my living room. Charlotte, Malcolm, and a stranger in a gray suit holding a leather folder. Dad, where have you been? We were worried sick. Coffee, I said. The stranger stood. Mr. Palmer, I'm Dr. Kenneth Rhodes. Your children asked me to... I don't need a doctor. Just a wellness check. A few simple questions. Not without my lawyer present. Charlotte's voice sharpened. See, paranoid. Always defensive. Dr. Rhodes made a note in his folder. Malcolm moved fast. Grabbed my phone from my jacket pocket. You're not thinking clearly anymore, Dad. Give that back. Charlotte took my truck keys from the hook. You need to rest. They were keeping me prisoner. Malcolm, take your father upstairs, Charlotte said. The door closed. I heard the lock click. Locked from the outside. The window. 2nd floor. Rose trellis running up the wall. Caroline had planted it in 1995. She'd wanted climbing roses. Something beautiful. I checked my watch. 12:30. I waited. Dr. Rhodes left at 3. Charlotte and Malcolm's cars started at 10. They'd gone to a hotel, confident the locked door would hold. At midnight, I opened the window. I was 67 years old. The climb down hurt, but staying hurt more. I made it to the ground. My hands stung from the thorns. My knees ached. But I was free. The equipment shed. Walter, my farmhand, always kept his truck keys in the toolbox. Old habit I'd always appreciated. I drove to Atascadero. Found the Sunset Motel at 1:30 in the morning. In the room, I used the phone on the nightstand. Called Richard Collect. My brother. The one who'd shown up to Caroline's funeral when Charlotte and Malcolm had business conflicts. Richard, I need you. Tomorrow. What happened? They locked me in. I climbed out a window. Silence. Then I'm already packing. I'll be there by noon. I collapsed onto the bed. The adrenaline fading. Everything ached. My hands were shaking. The scratches from the roses were starting to burn. But I'd bought myself time. My phone was gone. My truck was gone. But I had Walter's pickup. I had Richard coming. I had Isabella's evidence. And I had Catherine Lawson's card in my wallet. Tomorrow was Friday. The deadline Charlotte had mentioned on the recording. Whatever they'd planned, it was supposed to happen tomorrow. I thought about the locked door, the way Charlotte had taken my keys without hesitation, the notes Dr. Rhodes had been making. They'd been prepared. This wasn't improvisation. This was a plan they'd been building for months. I pulled the motel blanket over me, tried not to think about how easily they'd turned my own home into a prison. No phone, no truck, but I was free. For now. Richard knocked at 7 in the morning, holding coffee and bagels. You look terrible, he said. Good. They'll believe you're not incompetent. My brother. Flew red-eye from Portland. 62 years old and still treating me like I couldn't handle things myself. This time, I was grateful. Isabella arrived at 8 with a woman in a navy suit. Curtis, this is Catherine Lawson, my attorney. Now yours too. Catherine shook my hand. Firm grip, sharp eyes. Mr. Palmer, we have work to do. Dr. Janet Morgan showed up at 8:30. Isabella had arranged it. A psychologist with 30 years of experience evaluating cognitive function. She spent an hour with me, memory tests, reasoning puzzles, current events. By the end, she was smiling. You're completely sound, Mr. Palmer. I'll testify to that. At 10 o'clock, there was another knock. Officer Spencer Barnes, San Luis Obispo Sheriff's Department. Welfare check, he said. Your daughter reported you missing and confused. I'm not missing, I said. I left. She says you're not well. My daughter is lying. Barnes looked around the motel room. Richard, Isabella, 2 lawyers, a psychologist. You seem pretty organized for someone who's supposed to be confused. Catherine handed him the court filing. We have a hearing at 2 this afternoon. Mr. Palmer will be there. Barnes nodded, satisfied, left. Strategy session after that. Catherine laid out what would happen in court. The petition Isabella had filed. The evidence we had. The recording from 2 nights ago. What if they win? I asked. Catherine met my eyes. They won't. We have evidence. We have witnesses. And we have the truth. At 12:30, Richard tried to make me eat. I couldn't. My stomach was twisted into knots. Tomorrow was supposed to be the day they took everything. Instead, I was taking it back. We arrived at the San Luis Obispo County Superior Court at 1:15. Charlotte and Malcolm were already there, with their attorney, Gloria Henderson, gray hair, expensive suit, the kind of lawyer you hire when you need someone who knows how to make problems disappear. Charlotte saw me. Her face shifted instantly. Concern, relief, performance. Dad, thank God you're safe. She moved toward me. I stepped back. Don't. The mask flickered, just for a second. Her eyes went cold. Then the concerned daughter was back. Dad, please. We've been so worried. Save it for the judge. Gloria stepped forward. Mr. Palmer, let's handle this calmly. See you inside, I said. Richard's hand was on my shoulder. Steady. Isabella stood on my other side, Catherine in front, Dr. Morgan behind. I wasn't alone anymore. At 1:45, we entered the courtroom. It was smaller than I'd expected. Wood paneling, rows of benches, the seal of California on the wall behind the judge's bench. Charlotte and Malcolm sat on the left side with Gloria. We took the right. The division felt biblical. The bailiff stood. All rise. The Honorable Judge Helen Martinez presiding. Everyone stood. Judge Martinez walked in, late 50s, reading glasses on a chain. She looked like someone who'd spent 30 years listening to people explain why rules shouldn't apply to them. She sat. We sat. She opened the file in front of her, looked at Charlotte's side, looked at ours. Her expression gave away nothing. This is a petition regarding the estate of Caroline Collins Palmer, she said, and a motion for emergency conservatorship. Let's begin. Judge Martinez looked like she'd heard every lie in the world. I just hoped she'd recognize the truth when she heard it. The judge's first words were, "This is a highly unusual consolidation of cases. Proceed carefully." Catherine stood. "Your Honor, this is elder abuse. Curtis Palmer was locked in his bedroom, had his phone and vehicle keys confiscated by his own children." Gloria Henderson rose. "Concerned children protecting the confused father. 8 years since his wife died," Catherine said. "He's managed a 200-acre farm successfully ever since." I testified. Told them about the locked door, the confiscated keys, Thursday's imprisonment. Catherine played the recording, Charlotte's voice. "By Friday, we control everything." Silence. Gloria tried. "Mr. Palmer has been under stress. For 8 years," I said. "I've run my farm, paid my taxes. The only stress came from discovering this conspiracy." Stephen Mitchell testified about Charlotte's forged signature on the authorization. Dr. Janet Morgan. "Mr. Palmer scored in the superior range on every cognitive test. No evidence of diminished capacity." Richard, "My brother's sharp. What his children did was calculated elder abuse." Isabella stood. "I'm only asking for what my mother promised. 3 properties. Mr. Palmer keeps everything else the farm. The other properties his independence. It's his children who want it all." Catherine held up a document. Exhibit F, an agreement signed by Charlotte Palmer 6 months ago. She read 60% to Charlotte Palmer, 40% to Isabella Romano. Malcolm's head snapped up. He stood. 60%. You told me 50-50. "Sit down, Malcolm," Charlotte hissed. "You lied to your own brother." Charlotte stood. "I did the work I found Isabella." The gavel cracked. "Order sit down now, or I hold you in contempt." Malcolm sat, head in hands, shaking. Charlotte sat, arms crossed, defiant. Malcolm looked at me. "Dad, I swear I didn't know—" "Shut up," Charlotte snapped. Judge Martinez set down her gavel. "I've heard enough. This is one of the clearest cases of elder abuse I've seen in 30 years. She looked at her notes. "The trust documents are void, obtained through coercion and false imprisonment. Isabella Romano's petition is approved. Villa and Florence condo in Santa Barbara Vineyard in Napa Valley. Total $3.8 million. All other properties returned to Curtis Palmer." She looked at Charlotte and Malcolm. "I'm issuing a restraining order. 12 months. No contact with Curtis Palmer. Any violation means immediate arrest." She leaned forward. "You should be ashamed. Bailiffs escort them out." Charlotte walked out with her head high. Malcolm was crying, trying to catch my eye. I turned away. Outside the sun was setting, orange and gold over the hills. Isabella stood beside me on the courthouse steps. "I know a good lawyer for the property transfers," she said. Then quieter, "And I know a good cafe, if you'd like to talk." I looked at her. my wife's daughter, my unexpected ally. I'd like that. Richard joined us, hand on my shoulder. Let's get you home. Not yet, I said. I need a few days away from that place. Isabella nodded. I know a hotel in Paso Robles. Good restaurant, quiet. We walked down the courthouse steps together. 3 people who'd been strangers a week ago. Behind us, Malcolm called my name. I didn't turn around. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt. 3 months can change everything. Or maybe it just reveals who you really were under all the compromise. I own 120 acres now, near Santa Barbara. Smaller house, ocean view. The kind of place Caroline never would have chosen. That land was Caroline's dream. This one is mine. Morning coffee on the porch. Young olive trees I planted last month, still finding their roots, like me. I sold Palmer Ridge for $4.2 million, bought this place for $1.8, put the rest away. Simple math, simple life. Every Saturday, Isabella comes at 10. We cook together. She teaches me Italian recipes from her nonna. We talk, her childhood in Florence, my early years with Caroline. The stories don't hurt anymore. She lied, I told Isabella last week, but she also loved. Both can be true. Charlotte is fighting with Jason over assets now. The irony isn't lost on me. Malcolm sent a letter. I sent it back unopened. I don't hate them, but I can't have them in my life anymore. Richard visits once a month. We sit on the porch, watch the olive trees grow. That's enough. I planted a small vineyard last month, 6 rows. Isabella helped, said it reminded her of Tuscany. The sun is setting, orange and gold over the Pacific. I'm holding wine from my first harvest. 12 bottles total, but they're mine. At 67, starting over sounds like an ending. But it's not. It's choosing. I spent 43 years as Caroline's husband, 42 years as Charlotte and Malcolm's father. Now I'm just Curtis, olive farmer, survivor. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's choice. Isabella's car appears, right on time. She's bringing someone today. A friend from Florence. I stand, wave. The olive trees are still small. The vineyard won't produce for 2 more years. But the ocean is right there, 20 yards from my porch. Constant. Reliable. Honest. Isabella parks. Gets out. Curtis, this is Marco, from Florence. I shake his hand. Welcome. Dinner's almost ready. We walk toward the house. 3 people. A meal. A sunset. Simple things. The best things. Some people would call this an epilogue. The end of something. I call it Tuesday, and Saturday, and every day after. Just life. Chosen, earned, mine. You know what I learned at 67. Sometimes God puts people in your life to test you. Sometimes he puts them there to teach you. And sometimes, like with Charlotte and Malcolm, he puts them there to show you who you really are when everything falls apart. I spent 43 years building a life on compromise, on keeping the peace, on pretending I didn't see the cracks. God gave me signs, Caroline's secrets, the locked doors, the forged signatures. I ignored everyone until I had no choice left. Don't be like me. Don't wait until you're locked in your own bedroom to realize something's wrong. Don't wait until your children are dividing your assets before you're gone. Trust your gut. Protect yourself. Ask the hard questions before it's too late. But here's the thing God also gave me Isabella, and Richard, and a second chance at 70. He didn't leave me alone in that courtroom. He never leaves us alone even when our own blood turns against us. These grandpa stories aren't just entertainment. They're warnings. They're lessons bought with pain and paid for with lawyers and escape routes through rose trellises. Real grandpa stories from real life. So I'm asking you, have you seen the signs? Are you ignoring what God's trying to tell you? Share your story in the comments. Subscribe so you don't miss more grandpa stories that might just save your life one day. And if this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's choice. And sometimes, by God's grace, it's both.